So once again, good morning. My name is Alex Lovell. I'm a geographer, PhD student at Queen's University, and I'm presenting with Philip, who did most of the work. He recently finished his PhD at Western. So first of all, if I can just give you a bit of background on what this presentation is about. What we're going to talk about are emerging findings from the survey, basically from the census information that was purchased by ACT, and we were looking at a lot of different characteristics to describe Jane and Finch and to also look broadly at other priority neighborhoods. So the focus, the scope of the research is really looking at the priority neighborhoods. And if you're aware, there are 13 priority neighborhoods. Basically, these are communities that have been designated by the city and originally by United Way for increased investments, primarily social investments, but the idea being that there would be capital investment to improve employment and so forth. The concept of priority neighborhoods really is coming out of a lot of grassroots efforts that date back probably to the early 2000s. I remember that there was Poverty by Postal Code, which was a very influential piece of research, and then also United Way was doing a lot of work with looking at underserved communities. So basically there was a body of work, of research that was very powerfully advocated for by grassroots community organizations and others to actually create these designations. So since then, we've had, I guess, focus on these communities. My sense, and I'm definitely not an expert when it comes to this, but my sense is that the main impact of this has been for community organizations to use that designation as kind of a powerful narrative to acquire funds for their services and programs. I'm not as sure that the city or policy has been successful, for example, in bringing jobs in those communities. But anyways, that's the framework, that's the context. So for those of you that are familiar with the census, there's lots of different types of data in there. We purchased data along basically as much as we could and focusing on three youth populations. If you look at the regular census, the way age is clustered doesn't allow you to look, for example, at youth between 20 and 24, which is a critical age because that's a way of making, examining, for example, the percentage of people that have not completed high school. If you look at the regular census, I think the age group is 15 to 24, something like that, which obviously complicates things because you can't look at a no diploma percentage and really it makes any sense. Obviously, people that are 15 or 16 are still in school. So we purchased data quite deliberately to be able to look at things that were unique. And there's a list of different variables that we had to look at. So in this presentation, we're primarily looking at income and education characteristics. There's a lot more information that's going to be coming out. This is really emerging. But at this point, we can give you some insights about trends dating from 1996 to 2006. So the focus of this research is really looking at a particular group of people that are increasingly termed NEETs, that is not employed in education or in training. I don't know if there's any other. But basically, it's a group of people that are marginal in the sense that they're not actually underway in their education and they're not working, and of course they're not training. So basically, the most marginalized populations. And this is kind of based on the assumption that those individuals, that situation, I should say, is an important predictor of their success economically, socially. So Philip's just going to talk a bit about the findings from the analysis.
Hello, everyone. This is a graph I created for this presentation, and it shows the percentage of population with a university degree inside of priority neighborhoods and outside of the priority neighborhoods. Also shows the percentage of population with university degree at the city level. So the blue line on the bottom shows the first graph, and the blue line on the bottom shows the percentage of population with university degree at priority neighborhoods. And the yellow line shows the percentage of population, youth population with university degree in other neighborhoods, neighborhoods other than the priority neighborhoods. And the pink line in the middle shows the city's average. Obviously, the higher the line, the better, right? And we also have to pay attention to the line's trend. All three lines goes up. Means in the last 10 years, no matter where they are, more and more youth get their post-secondary university degrees in Toronto. And we also have to pay attention to the gap between the priority neighborhoods and the rest of the city. So if the yellow line and the blue line, they diverge, which means the gap become wider and wider. If the two lines converge, which means the gap was closed in the 10 years. And in this case, we found the gap actually almost doubled in the 10 years, okay? Which means more and more youth outside of the 13 priority neighborhoods got their university degrees, and relatively less youth living in 13 priority neighborhoods, they receive university degrees in the 10 years. And the second graph shows the percentage of population without a high school diploma. And in this case, we find the blue line jump on the top. It's not a good story, okay? Because we wish the lower the line, the better, because we wish the percentage of population without high school diploma, the less the better, okay? And we find all three lines goes down, which means during 1996 and 2006 in Toronto, no matter inside of the 13 priority neighborhoods or outside of 13 priority neighborhoods, less and less youth, they are without a high school diploma in this case. And the gap in the 10 years, in this case, stay about the same. And we're interested about the Jane Finch position, okay? So in terms of percentage of university degree holders, it's quite ugly in the year of 1996 and 2001, and we can see Jane Finch sit on the bottom of the list. And this is a list of all 13 priority neighborhoods, okay? It's below the city's average, and we can see Jane Finch sit right on the bottom in the 1996 and 2001. In 2006, it's improved a little bit, but still quite on the bottom. And high school diploma. No high school diploma. It's quite the same story. In 1996 and 2001, the percentage of youth living in Jane Finch without a high school diploma is quite a lot. And we can see they're sitting on the bottom of the list. And in 2006, the situation improved a little bit, but Jane Finch still ranked as the 6th on the list. Okay, go ahead. And I looked at the percentage of visible minorities living inside of 13 priority neighborhoods and outside of 13 priority neighborhoods. Okay, And as I found, more and more visible minority youth, they are clustered inside of 13 priority neighborhoods during 1996 and 2006. And you can see, for the age group 15 to 19, in 1996, almost every 3 out of 5 youth living in Jane and Finch belong to visible minority youth. And in 2006, almost every 4 out of 5 youth at this age belong to visible minority youth. For the age group 20 to 24, pretty much the same story. In 1996, almost every 3 out of 5 youth belong to visible minority youth, and in 2006, almost every 4 out of 5 youth belong to visible minority youth. Yeah, for the age group 20 to 29, it's the same story. Yeah. And I looked at the average income change in the during 1996 and 2006, and this trend is quite interesting. For all 3 different age groups, the gap actually doubled in the 10 years. Okay, so for example, for the age group 15 to 19, the income gap in 1996 is about $320, and the gap in 2006 is about $600, so almost double. And if you look at the income gap for the age group 20 to 29, 25 to 29, the gap in 1996 is about $3,000, and the gap in 2006 is about $6,500. And I also checked the unemployment rate. Actually, you can see from the line trends, okay? The top line and the bottom line, they are converged, which means the gap actually closed. Okay? For example, and I found this is quite consistent for all 3 different age groups. For age group 15 to 19, 20 to 24, and 25 to 29, the unemployment rate gap actually closed in the 10 years. And I also checked the occupation type. And Census Canada categorized all occupations into these 8 different categories. And if you look at go through the list, you find the category A, B, C, D, E, and F, they required more post-secondary education. And category G, H, I, J, they require relatively less university education. And what I found is from 1996 to 2006, more and more youth, in 13 priority neighborhoods, they moved to the job occupation type G, H, and I. And for youth living in other neighborhoods, and I found more and more youth, they are moved to the job category A, C, and E. Alex will continue this presentation.
So based on what Philip was just talking about, I think that the main thing that I walked away from was the idea that there's more youth who are working in priority neighborhoods than before, but earning less money and earning that money in more precarious parts of the labor market. And I think the last slide sort of shows, if you are familiar with sort of the economic transformation that's happened in the city in the last 20 years, the service sector, like the growth of the service sector, has meant some very high-paying, stable forms of employment in the service sector, financial services, for example, and very low-paying, non-unionized, part-time, seasonal types of occupations. So I think that's the type of situation we're seeing. I guess at this point, in terms of the analysis, there seems to be an association between the education level and the labor market situation. I think that probably has to be said with a caveat. There really would need to be a closer examination of who exactly are these youth, because I know from past experience there's a lot of very well-educated people, of course, who are not, their education does not determine their labor market situation. So we'd have to consider, for example, if discrimination or other types of barriers exist in the labor market. The other thing I would just add is that the time frame for the study between 1996 and 2006 sort of requires a bit of cautionary note, because it's a period of economic recovery. Some of the data for 1996 is very bad because it was at the sort of the end of the last recession. So it's to kind of pay attention to that. And I think the thing to walk away from in regards to that is that since 2006, since the data that everyone talks about, we've had the worst financial crisis, a pretty deep recession, and the types of employment that a lot of the youth, according to what was shown here, are in, we're probably quite vulnerable to that downturn. So it's another thing to add. And I guess in terms of some of the findings or implications is looking at how projects, organizations, community can really come together to try to address some of these labor market issues through networks and advocacy. Thank you. If you have any questions.